Day 3 at Iris, the last day of shorts.
Yeah.
What particularly grabbed your eye?
Well, I thought programme 4 and 5 were particularly strong this year. I think yesterday we had a really strong opening programme. The second and third were a little bit more mixed. With 4 and 5, they're actually very, very impressive, and I struggled to find kind of favourites from them because actually I liked, I think, pretty much all of the shorts that were in programmes 4 and 5. But I think ones that stood out for me, Ishihara by Yoav Brill, Israeli filmmaker.
That's that little animation.
Yeah, I thought that was stunning. I think it was really nice to see animation anyway.
Well, full stop. That was the only one, sadly, this year.
We don't see it very often. We don't get a lot of animated films, so it was great to see something which is a very simple idea, but with a lot of warmth and a lot of humour in it.
My classmates thought it was pretty interesting. We were a small group of kids in a kibbutz surrounded by fields that for a few weeks each winter were covered with poppies, a great excuse for leaving the classroom on a field trip. When the teacher would call, "Who can find a white poppy amongst all the red ones?" I'd raise my hand and ask, "What poppies?" Then everyone would gather around me, asking all sorts of questions, and I kind of enjoyed the attention. Until one day someone asked, "So hang on, what exactly do you see?" And before I could answer, someone else said, "Nothing. I guess he sees see-through."
For play, San Francisco. Now that was a film, wasn't it?
You could say that. I'm still baffled. I'm still baffled how a film with that subject matter, and it's difficult for us to say exactly what the subject matter is without spoiling it, but essentially it's the story of a transvestite prostitute visiting a quadriplegic guy who's bedridden with the endorsement of the man's wife, and what happens between them, and which is actually, it's quite explicit in terms of what's discussed and what's implied, and yet what could have been really tasteless ends up actually being quite touching and quite moving, and at the end of the film you're kind of frowning, thinking, how was that touching and moving? One reason is possibly that it uses Mahler. It uses the same piece that was used in Death in Venice, and so maybe that adds a bit of gravity to it. But also, actually, the performances in it were really good.
Were brilliant. That's what it kept it on the edge, didn't it? Because there was a feeling of uncomfortableness, almost voyeuristic feeling at some time you're watching it. But thanks to the acting and obviously the direction, it just held through, didn't it?
It was. I mean, just as a clever piece of filmmaking, in that it made you. It didn't deliver what you expected it to be. I thought it was going to go the route of kind of League of Gentlemen style, over-the-top, gross-out comedy, and that just in a way that was intended to offend us. And it was totally the opposite. Actually, it took great care so as not to be offensive, despite the fact that on paper it should have been one of the most offensive films that we saw this year. And actually, it was probably the least. Yeah. So yeah, impressive.
Let's find out what makes you happy. May I sit here? You seem like a very open-minded person. Do you like good girls? Bad girls? Oh. You'll take us any old way, You feel that? How about there? You just let me know when you can feel me. May I?
One other one to mention, I certainly mentioned I Don't Want to Go Back Alone, that Brazilian film.
That's a promising one, I think. Yeah, there's been a lot of good feedback off that, and yeah, just beautifully made film. Quite simple again, just the story of a young blind boy and his friendships with his best sort of girlfriend and the new boy in class, on whom he develops a bit of a crush. But yeah, just very, very nicely made, and really great performances, and sweet and nice and upbeat as well.
Gi, como é o Gabriel?
Como assim?
Ah, tipo, de rosto.
Gabriel, ele é moreno, da minha altura, bem branquinho, Tem o cabelo todo enroladinho, sabe? Magro, tem um olhão, tá chegando.
E aí?
Vamos?
Você não mora por aqui, gente?
Eu moro naquela casa amarela ali do outro lado da rua.
Ah, se você quiser eu posso levá-la até a casa dele.
Ah, não sei, acho que não precisa.
Por mim não tem problema nenhum, gente.
Tem certeza? Ainda bem que eu tô morrendo de vontade de ir no banheiro. Tchau, meninas. Até amanhã, viu?
Bem. Você tá aí? Tô. Pode andar então.
Colonel's outing, just a brief mention, but that was a quirky little thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think what was nice about that again, and it's just nice seeing stuff that we don't usually get, and with this it was the story of a relationship between two elderly gentlemen, two old war veterans, and it was kind of nice, yeah, it's nice seeing those kind of stories, as well as all these stories about, you know, schoolboys and schoolgirls and youngsters and teenagers, and this focus on youth that you get with a lot of the films, partly because I suppose a lot of the filmmakers are themselves quite young. It's nice to see a film in which the focus is actually the elderly and care for the elderly and romance between older people.
It was slightly over-hammed up. If they toned it down a bit, it would have even been better, I think.
You're talking about
the acting, the
matronly
oh no matron kind of look.
Character,
yes,
who was kind of like something out of an Almodovar film, but I enjoyed it.
It was good fun.
I've never let a woman tell me anything. I'll sit in the sun if I bloody well want to. Porridge for breakfast? No, thanks. I'll have my bacon and eggs.
Can we talk about something else, please?
Can you imagine waking up next to her every morning? Give Dracula's daughter a run for her money?
That's enough.
You need to grow yourself a pair of balls and tell her where to stick it.
You're quite the bully, aren't you?
Well, don't go all queer on me. Hey, Josie, when she pops off, they should bury her in the garden, arse up, so the paper boy's got somewhere to park his bike.
Colonel, I said that's enough.
No need to stop on my account. Carry on.
You managed to see, because I'm afraid I didn't actually get to see this one, but Vampires Brighter in Darkness, world premiere brackets.
That's right, the late night film on Friday was Vampires Brighter in Darkness, which was a stunning, gritty, fly-on-the-wall documentary about life in Sorry, I can't do that. No, it was pretty much did what it says on the tin. It was a vampire movie, incredibly low budget. I think the film, the director said it cost about 15,000, which is cheaper than most. It was cheaper than most of the short films that we've seen in competition this year. It was absolutely daft and as mad as a box of frogs. But actually, do you know what? I wasn't bored for a second. So I mean that's it. It was in a perfect slot. I think most of the audience enjoyed it. There's a great turn actually from the actress who plays the kind of protagonist sister in it. I think everyone in the audience absolutely loved her. So I wish I had her name written down or could remember her name. But So it was good fun. And, it's not Lawrence of Arabia. You know, it's not gonna mop up the BAFTAs this time next year. But it was really, really, really good fun.
Basically, Vampires Brighter in Darkness. I would say it's a gay version of Twilight. It's the only way I can sort of describe it. It's basically about Toby Brighter, a young gay guy who's just come out of a relationship. His sister's absolutely fed up with him moping around, so she sets him up on a blind date. And it just so happens that the blind date turns out to be a 1,500-year-old vampire. Whether it's lucky or not, I don't know, but and then what happens is he then gets propelled into the world of the vampire, demons, supernatural, and everything. So I'd say it's a queer view of Twilight and things of that nature. So it's quite fresh.
Okay, and how come the occult theme to it?
Well, basically, I mean, my whole life has been centered around that because I was brought up as for want of a better word, a witch. So all my background knowledge, all the things I've been taught from the age of 4, literally I've actually put everything into the actual film. So it's all based upon a lot of mythology and a lot of sort of like background knowledge to do with the occult and things like that. So.